proceed. Call the meeting to order at what looks like 7:06. Is that right, Debbie?
Madam Secretary, would you please call attendance?
Certainly. Anthony Amato.
Here.
Valerie Anderson. Alan Brown.
Here.
Gregory Pava.
Here.
Rebecca Devine, I'm here. Michelle Gora. Here. Emily Hibbert. Here. Jim Hirschfeld. I'm here. Jennifer Cody. Here. Michael Sinatra.
Here.
Peter Tagley. Here. And we have a vacancy.
Who is this Ross Reading? I've heard that someone is going to be coming, perhaps.
Really?
Not tonight, but that Barbara has somebody in mind.
Their last name is Godot.
Great.
Godot, right. That's Guildenstern. We'll have an opportunity for the public to comment on agenda items.
Oh, gosh, I don't want to.
We have no public.
Phenomenal.
Good. All right. We have a consent agenda which really comprises only the business meeting and special meeting minutes from August 31st to September 14th. Do we have anybody who wants to yank anything off that agenda?
All is good.
Hearing nothing, consent agenda is approved. We have a report of the chair. I am not the chair, and I am sure what I would report will be covered in greater detail by the superintendent. And what it is we had, I was at a great meeting in Burnham on Saturday where we presented the agri-science project to, I would say, a majority of positive audience members. There were a couple with some pointed questions, but I even think that we managed to handle those pretty well. So it wasn't anything but a positive experience. And that's it for me. Superintendent's report.
Yes,
Can I
I
just
am.
ask? Sorry. If you could do me a favor and just jot down questions and or reflections for improving, as we're working on the PowerPoint presentation and we're gearing up for the October 5th. So, and then we're working on mailings and things. So it's great feedback for me to just get the, questions or places people seemed confused or concerned or
That
whatever.
reminds me, there were two lists of questions that were handed to Pat to answer at her leisure, and she may be turning to Anthony or others to help her answer those. Those, in general, to be answered to the two people who sent the questions would be good, but then again, those questions answered will be handy to be able to answer similar questions in the future. I don't have them with me now.
That's
but I
okay.
have that.
That's okay. But just as a good, it's great to reflect. We get to kind of
They're
learn
the
and
same
improve.
question.
Yeah, and then there was one more issue, yeah, some of them were repetitive, but there was another issue that Rebecca brought up. Should we mention that now? Are you
Go ahead.
Was that somebody, you want to remind us, it had to do with
Yeah, there
parallel.
was a concern, and it was actually brought up after the meeting. Some folks had a concern about the issue of the agri-science STEM curriculum, the track actually overshadowing or taking away from the college track. So they weren't sure kind of how they coexist, where there's overlapping, and they'd like some reassurances that it's going to be beneficial and not harmful. So that if we are in a situation where, there's not enough money, is it going to be diverted automatically to ag STEM and it's going to be hurting our college track kids? So we thought that was a pretty fair question, and thought we could work on that. And I did pass that on to Pat. And,
I got a similar question with the Washington Lens.
And I think the quick and easy answer is that they're not necessarily mutually exclusive, that obviously agri-science is not a non-college track.
It is a college.
So when people are talking, perhaps they're talking more in terms of more of the standard liberal arts college track.
well, and I think that it would be helpful for them to understand that, and Pat addressed some of that very directly in her presentation, certainly in regards to things like AP, advanced classes, having more participation within the class, making it more intellectually challenging. But I think that the tone that I got was that literally we're just talking about, this is what I need to get into college, this is the agri-science programs, and I'm expecting it to look a lot like this. So,
Yeah, kind of like this.
yeah.
They're going to intertwine.
Anthony.
So a statistic from NOAA is 85% of the ag students head off to college. So they, just on that alone, they can't be at odds with one another.
Right.
No, and I don't think that, I didn't get the concern that the ag students weren't going to be college bound as much as what's going to happen to the students who are college bound who aren't the ag students. That's the population that I think that they're concerned about.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good point. It did
Yes.
come up at the Lions presentation as well, and I think that, and not in a way where someone was critical, it was a way where they would say,
Curious.
this is an important thing for you to tell
Yes.
everyone. And I think it was very constructive, and I think we can answer it well. I mean, just the ability to increase the number of AP courses alone is going to positively impact every college-bound student in the school.
Yep.
So I think these are all good things, and it allows us to get that out there. One other thing that I think should be added to the list is being prepared to answer, well, two things. It should be, number one, we should make sure that the presentation, the PowerPoint, doesn't depict things in tables. It should depict it in graphs. It's easier to see. The problem is not that it's not good information. The problem is you bloody well can't see it, whereas you can see a graph really easily. And I think the second thing is that a very important question came up, and I think it should be answered 4 times a day or 5 times a day to make sure everyone hears it and understands. The fact that we are getting $10,000 in tuition per student does not correlate to the fact that the average per pupil expenditure at the high school is $25,000. What people need to understand is that you bring in 200 students into the system, you're not going to have to hire another superintendent, another staff. You're not going to have to hire more than the 6 or so teachers that we've identified that we're going to hire to educate mostly agri-science classes. You're not going to have to pay more electricity to operate the building, heat, or any of those things. We are filling excess capacity. So it may cost us probably somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000 a kid to educate those kids, and they're coming with 10, so it creates a surplus. And the whole business plan is premised on that surplus paying down the bonds over the life of the bonds. And so what I think will happen is that question will come up. And it'll be hard to get their hands around it, but I think that the way to explain it could very well be how it works with an airliner, where it makes several stops, and people are getting off, the Region 12 people are getting off the airliner over the next several years, and already it's not full to start with, and people are getting off, and more other people from other towns are coming into that airliner, and at the end of the day, when it arrives at the airport 20 years from now, it's got maybe a few more people than it started with, but it's correlating the numbers, so it doesn't increase the overall cost. We've carefully kept the number of students limited to avoid increasing our core costs for running the program, so that it's not going to cause us to have 200 extra kids at 25 a pop. It's going to be 200 extra kids at about 8 a pop. So it's going to correlate very well and work in there, but that needs to be graphically depicted. And
I was just going to say, we need to explain that in about a third of the words you just
in
used.
about a third of the words that I just used.
So concise.
But
Or a picture.
Well,
but
it's true.
a concise thing with a picture.
It was a nice, I mean, it was good.
But a concise thing with a picture would explain that. But that has to be explained.
Right.
That has to be in the materials that are distributed. It has to be out there, because that's a question that I guarantee you is going to come up in just about every forum.
It comes up each time.
Yep.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, so in your packet, there is a thank you letter from ASAP about the money that comes from our budget to support that program, so that's in there. I'm just going to pass this to you. It came to my office this afternoon. Sherman, on the 24th of September, is doing a blue chip panel of educators to speak about the SBAC scores in the Connecticut Common Core. They have the Commissioner, Diana Wetzel, the Chief Counsel for CAVE, Patrice McCarthy, Director of School Programs, Jonathan Costa, plus the Superintendent and some administrators. If you're interested, certainly you'll get some good information. I can tell you that Sherman did have a big anti-Common Core group, and they also had a lot of students who opted out of the assessments. So I know that that's a big topic for the parents there, but you're all welcome to join. It's an open meeting, and you can pass that along. So that's something that you may want to put in your calendar. And next Monday, Teresa will be doing an overview of our scores. So look forward to that.
Wait, this is Thursday the 24th?
Yep.
But it would be helpful actually to have the overview of our scores before this, if any of us are going to go there and speak. I mean, I know if I were to get up and say, you know, in Region 12, over at Chappaqua, we had X, it would be nice to know what the numbers are before, you know.
Well, I can, we can give you the, you know, just I can.
I'm not
see
planning
specific-
it, but somebody might, and it would be helpful, I think, to know the information. Because, you know, one of the things about Common Core is that we have implemented it very well in this
Right.
region.
Right.
Your staff has done an absolutely outstanding job of aligning the curriculum well enough in advance, so when the assessments came through, my understanding is that they're pretty good return on that. And so I think that other states have had problems. I mean, they're having a nightmare over in New York, and I think it's because, what I understand, it's because the curriculum was not aligned with the standards far enough in advance of the assessments. So it's gotten everybody upset and everybody's worried their scores are not what they wanted. And I think that's happened in some states, whereas Connecticut did a different thing, and Region 12 in particular did an outstanding job of doing it. And so I think that's a message that we should get out. That's good for this region, for people to hear, especially people in a school that sends kids to this region. They should hear that, well, gee, over here, you know, unless, of course, you're going to tell me the numbers aren't as good as we originally.
No, well, the English language arts numbers are fabulous. The math numbers are very good. I mean, they need to be improvement, but the math numbers in the state are not good because the Common Core in mathematics is a totally different way of instructing students. So this is what I'll say. If anybody is planning on going, if you email me, I'll hook you up with Teresa, and she can give you just like a couple of preview of the scores and sound bites. So if you do want to say something, you have that information. Okay? What else do I have? We have an appointment of Elise Sadler at Burnham School as a paraprofessional. And we have Mr. Michael Nolan, newly married, I have to throw that in there, who once again is here to talk about Simply Smiles. And this would need a motion and an approval from the board to send students to Mexico July 2nd to the 9th. So we'll give the floor to Mike, if that's okay with you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Good evening. Dr. Costantino asked me to be brief, and I will most certainly comply. As you can see on the agenda, the trip is tentatively scheduled for July 2nd through the 9th, Saturday to Saturday. This would be our 5th trip that we have run. Those of you that were on the board 2 years ago, you know, I gave you the presentation, so a lot of you are familiar. For those of you who are not, I emailed the volunteer handbook to you, your board email, so you can feel free to check that out. I'm just going to briefly explain about some points about safety, immersion, and then impact on students. I have some wall art to share with you as well. We've taken roughly 3,000 volunteers down to Oaxaca since 2002. I say we because I used to work for the organization. In that time, we've never really had any major safety issues. And, you know, there's objective risks that we can't control, but everything else we take into account. We have people on the ground down there that monitor the situation. You know, we have staff. Simply Smiles has staff living in Oaxaca. And then in terms of immersion, the students not only have a life-changing, impactful experience where they encounter poverty and they get to do something about it in a meaningful way. They spend time with students at the orphanage. They play with the kids. They read to them. Ellery Rourke, Shaylin's little brother, as soon as he arrived at the orphanage, a little boy just ran up and jumped on him and hugged him. You know, he had never met this kid before. And the language immersion can't be understated as well. You know, the kids get to practice what they learn in our classroom and apply the curriculum in real life. And then finally, I'll pass around. This was our first group in 2008. On the left is Chappaqua graduate Zachary Gross, and he's going to be leading our trip. So he went as a student in 2008, And then when I was working for them, he spent the summer as an intern. Just amazing. He's going to be leading it along with his sister Alex. In the middle, Sam Steinmetz, her little sister Mahalette, is an 8th grader in my class, and she wants to go on the trip as soon as she's old enough. Sam came and gave a presentation this past Thursday to all our Spanish students. And I told the kids, she was sitting where the kids were sitting, and she got the presentation from Brian in 2008. And so now she just sent me the contract, you know. So it's really cool for us as teachers to see our kids go out in the world and apply what they learn. And then I'll pass this picture around, actually. You can check it out. And then finally, I probably already went over my time limit. Sorry, Dr. Steve. This is Dakota Wilson and Michael Leslie, 2 Bridgewater boys from 2 years ago. We got up and went for a hike that morning, really early. I won't tell you how early. And then they were digging a footing for an orphanage that Simply Smiles built. And this is them sleeping on that Friday after a week of work. They did about 45, 50 hours of work. There's now an orphanage there where they're lying, and there's kids living there. So, you know, really, they get to see the results of their action. Like, this photo is in the volunteer handbook, and it's pretty cool. So I'll open it up to questions for you, if you have any.
It's the age group.
Sorry. What's the grades that I heard?
Oh, sure. It's the kids have to turn 15 before the date of the trip. So I have a small army of freshmen that are really upset and definitely want to go next year. So I'll probably be here a year from now. So any freshmen through seniors, as long as they're 15. We've had kids literally graduate, like Sam and Zach, collected their diploma and then hopped on a plane and went down. So.
Did you have a question? Sure.
No, because I didn't think there were any. I was just going to say I'm familiar with Simply Smiles, and it's a fabulous organization, and it's a wonderful trip, and I thank you for considering to lead it during the summer, so nobody's missing school. That's really great. And I would just ask, and I know you've done this in the past, so that, because there's a lot of time between now and July, that, you know, if you ever have any concerns about safety, that you would just
Definitely.
keep that in mind. And I know you have, and always will, and that would be the only thing I ask. But it's a great program, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to take our students, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, last time we went down, there was a concern about safety in the jungle, so we actually cut that part of the trip out. And that has more than blown over. Sacred Heart University is going to be going down for a couple weeks. Choate Rosemary Hall will be going down. So there's, a volunteer network of, 3,000 and growing, and a lot of repeat customers, including us. So.
Rebecca?
How large is the group of students that you take with you?
Minimum of 15, and last I heard max of 25, just for fitting in vans.
I'm also familiar with the program, and I think the other thing is the ability for kids to see up close and personal what a tremendous impact that people can have on the lives of others when they pitch in and help them to do that. I mean, for the cost of what it costs, I mean, people here, probably for the cost of building pouring a foundation for a small barn here, that would build a house for a family down there, maybe even 2. And it's just a tremendous thing to see the impact that I think this program has had on these children, especially at the orphanage, but also with the families in the area. I know that Simply Smiles also had been building housing for the people who make their career of picking things out of the dump.
Yes.
That's whole families that literally inherit the right to go pick articles that have been discarded from the dump as their method of earning a living. And Simply Smiles produced housing for those people. Some of these same kids who were volunteering and going down to church groups and other places. So I think it's an absolutely tremendous program. It must be an exciting opportunity to learn, to really reinforce the Spanish lessons at the same time that you're giving the whole cultural piece.
Definitely.
God, excellent.
Valerie isn't here to ask this question, so I'll ask it, which is, what is the cost to saving families, and is there a help for families whose children want to go
Sure. The Simply Smiles fee is $7.50, and to be honest, they're eating some of the costs. You know, it actually costs more. That covers food, staying in the orphanage, and building supplies, cement, things like rebar, things like that. I just checked flights; they're around $800. To give you an example, last year we tried to run a trip to Spain, and the cost was prohibitive. It was going to end up being between $3,600 and $4,000. So this is not only a bargain in terms of what it costs families, but I think it's way more impactful. In terms of fundraising, we use a website called firstgiving.com, where it's kind of like Facebook or Kickstarter, kind of like that, where kids can create a profile and then share it via Facebook and Twitter and social networking. And Aunt Sally can read about what a student's planning to do on the trip, and she can use her credit card and donate to the trip. So one of our students from the 2014 trip actually paid for her entire trip fee and most of her flight just through that alone. But we also fundraise, bake sales and things like that.
When do you have to be 15 times?
Before the date of the trip, so that would be July 2nd. So some of my freshmen there are waiting for their friends, but so.
Can we have a motion to approve if there are no further questions?
So moved.
Second.
I think Greg had the motion and Michelle had the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Committee reports. Oh, is there anything else? Committee reports, starting with agri-science. Anthony.
Nothing at this time.
Guess we're having that later. Education, Michelle.
So on our meeting next Monday, Teresa DeVito will be here to present the scores, our latest round of scores. The following month on the schedule, Todd will be here presenting last year's senior class AP scores, the normal presentation that he does for us. And Teresa and I are still kind of putting together the rest of our calendar. We talked about several topics. Math and science curriculum were one of them. An update on our REACH program was another. So those will definitely be coming down the pipe, as well as the normal things that we hear from. We are hoping that we will have an EASC presentation in one of those meetings soon. So that's what's coming up. And as always, if you have something that you have a question about that you would like to see a presentation on, please email it to me, and I'll make sure we try to get it on the schedule.
And I guess we have no liaison to Education Connection at the moment. Facilities, great.
Yeah, the facilities committee is planning, it's got a meeting scheduled for next Monday. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about because we're pretty much moving apace on the mall improvements. If you've been out there, you've noticed that there have been changes made to the lighting of the upper area of the walls has been repainted. And the cases for the trophies and things have been removed, and they're going to be resituated after this is done. The walls have been cleaned. The concrete block corrugated would look like corduroy walls out there have all been washed and cleaned, and they absolutely look tremendous. But we did discover one of them is a different color at the far end, and that was because it was added later, apparently. We didn't realize until it was cleaned that area is a different color. And it appeared there was something else there. We don't know if it's windows or a wall or a conventional wall or what, but the thing really is starting to look tremendous in there. Everything's on schedule, and we expect to have it be fall improvement project fully completed by the end of the vacation, the mid-year holiday vacation. Furniture has been selected, it's been ordered, it's been coordinated color-wise by the consultant that we engaged, and not by me. I didn't pick them, Pete, so don't blame me if you don't like the way it looks. But seriously, it's well on the way, and that's what's been going on there. Michelle. So do you have a question about?
I do. I was just wondering, and I saw Don, so if we could get just a quick update on the pond and the pool? Like,
All right,
when we're
Don?
The pond is complete. We're waiting for Mother Nature to fill it.
Okay,
waiting a while.
that's it, so everything's gone, I didn't walk back there today, so it got trucked out recently?
It's being trucked. They started trucking out the soils. It'll be gone in the next week, 5 days at the most. Tomorrow, I've got a company called Connecticut Pond Services. They're gonna come and they're gonna install some aerators at the bottom of the pond
Nice.
to help de-stratify the temperatures in it and hopefully keep the algae from building up the way it was. So, we may have it filled soon if we get a few rainstorms. In terms of the pool, we found a few things that needed to be done that we didn't know about when we started digging into the pool, which prevented us from grouting it quick. So the problem with the grout is that it needs to be down 28 days to cure before the warranty. Otherwise, the supplier won't provide us a warranty. So, you know, we knew that at the beginning. We were hoping to get it down quick, but a couple of things that we found, some loose tiles and things, and some bad grout and bad concrete, mostly from changing the pool's design over the years. So some of the stuff that was left under the concrete is rotting the steel, so it's creating some issues with the tiles. So we straightened all that out. Now it's grouted. We're due to open October 19th.
Okay.
I've shared that with Lisa Easter, Sheila, and Tom's people. Everybody's okay.
This is a question from my youngest daughter. She's the environmentalist, and she was concerned about the fact that it looked like all the trees around the pond were taken down.
Yeah, that was sad. But what had happened? There are 4 inlets into the pond. 2 of which are from the roof, 2 of which are from the grounds. If you notice, the grounds outside are swaled and sloped towards little grates and stuff. Those grates bring water into the pond, as does the roof. And then there's a power line going from here 1,200 feet out to the white pump house. Well, don't you know that every one of those willows impacted something? All but one that is left. Some of them impacted the lines feeding the pond, whereas we found it's a 10-inch concrete line, and it was a 10-inch root that went 3 or 4 feet into the line, which backed it up and broke it, so it required us to fix it later on. Those willows just seek out water, and they sought it out. The one, we're going to remove the stumps eventually, but at the south end, we cannot remove that stump because it impacted the 480-volt power line going up to the well structure. And we're just plain afraid. We're going to let it rot. We don't know how to deal with that other than to break it up and possibly fix whatever it may break. So that was sad, but it had to happen.
Is there any plan to re-landscape, plant some new trees, plant maybe non-willows this time?
We can do that. I don't know if we should wait until the potential referendum and maybe tie it all in with what we're doing there.
Yeah.
It makes more sense that way. These grounds were done in 1970 with 2 predominant trees, an Australian pine and an ash, both because they tend to grow quickly and both have their inherent problems. I think we should, but the answer would be yes.
And hopefully this time we're going to make better decisions about what we plant, more deliberative decisions on it. This illustrates one issue you have with construction projects, which is you encounter field conditions you don't expect, and they can cause you to have to make changes in your program. So we expect that going forward. The last thing I wanted to mention on facilities is we have to remember now, I know the mall looks a little sterile right now, but we have to remember that the idea is to do a design that really makes a statement, really makes your park look well, and that's why we're not going to permit anything to be done in that mall, not even the placement of a paper clip, without it coming through the facilities committee. Not because we have any great thing. I want to make sure that nothing's done without the appropriate designers being consulted, or we will quickly turn that back into the hodgepodge mess that it was before this project started. So that's something that we're going to insist on a going forward basis, that we not add to it, that we subtract until we get the design, and then we try to stay with something that's compatible with the design for everything that goes on out there. So that's something to bear in mind, because this thing is really coming around. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. When you come back after the holidays, I think everyone's going to be pleasantly surprised.
Valerie isn't here for finance. Does she have an understudy? Or should we just pass it?
We were canceled for this.
Oh, that's right.
Meetings next week.
Cancel
Yeah,
next week.
so we have a meeting next week.
Okay, long-range planning hasn't met, and for the record, I always tell Debbie this by email, I'll tell you publicly, we won't meet until after the referendum, because our long-range plans will clearly be heavily influenced by the outcome of the referendum. Negotiations, Greg.
We're in a quiet period. We've finished negotiating all the contracts. We don't have anything else.
And finally, policies, Michelle.
Yes, we met last month, and we will be meeting again next week. And we have one second reading on the agenda for tonight, and several other policies that will be on our agenda, our next agenda. I don't know if they're going on education or business, but we have a couple things to move to the board, so that's it.
Well, without further ado, we're now into old business, and you can tell us about that policy.
Yeah, so I brought a paper copy. You know what, I should have probably said this in the report. I'm just going to, I had a several hour-long meeting with Teresa DeBrito today regarding policy, and I just want to tell you that we're doing the best we can, but it is difficult. Yeah, when we were looking at a policy, she pulled it up on her computer. She has 3 different versions from CAVE. There's the version we edited, the old version. And so I am sorry that the regulation got sent to you, but here's the policy for the second reading. This is the bids, our purchasing procedures that everyone agreed to in August. I think that was August, maybe it was July. Nothing has changed since the first reading, and I apologize for the fact that a regulation was sent. So here's the policy. Do you guys have it? Did you get enough copies down there?
Yes. So we've been over this a couple of times, but still the only change, some of this is just pro forma because of that regulation issue. But of course, as you can see, the salient changes are the strikeouts that you can see in the underlying titles that you heard. Yes, Greg.
I'd like to move that we approve this for a second reading.
Second from...
I'm sorry, move we approve policy 3323 as presented for a second reading. Sorry about that.
And seconded by Rebecca. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? I think that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, policies. Facilities, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So I don't see a name here. Is it a superintendent or
Yeah, that's
or
me.
Amato?
That's me.
Excellent.
I just want to give you a little update on what's going on with the agri-science. We are moving. We've had some really good meetings out in the public. We get a lot of positive feedback, questions, but always positive feedback. I think what we're finding at a lot of the meetings is that people who don't have questions and who really support the program don't show up to the meetings because they are already a supporter and they have all their information. So that's something that we kind of are used to, but it is happening. From now until October 5th, we have tomorrow, Kim and I are doing the Rotary at noon. Then we have also a TV show tomorrow at 10:30 with Dan Scher, Michelle, and Ann Baldwin. And they're doing that. I'll be there, so we're excited about that. The 23rd is the Roxbury meeting, and that is at 7 p.m. So we hope that the Roxbury board members can come. We think it's really beneficial when you're there, if you can make it. The 25th at 8 a.m., I think it's at 8:10. I'll be on the radio. What is it, WBZG, am I right?
ZBT.
ZBG. I'll be on the radio, so excited about that, so try to listen. So that should be really good, I think. 27th, going to the Chapag reunion from 1 to 5 at the Pavilion. So hopefully we'll get some alumni to write some letters and get involved. Excited about that. We have the 28th, of course, we have a board meeting. The 30th, we have 11 a.m. the Roxbury Senior Center. So if any board members from Roxbury available for that, that's 11 a.m. on September 30th. We have on October 1st at St. Mark's Church in Bridgewater, the Grange, and that's at 7 p.m. They've been very supportive, and they wrote a letter. There were letters from the editor from them this weekend in the paper. We have on the 3rd the Washington Town meeting at 9:30. And we're always at the farmer's market. It's usually Jen and Michelle, and they're doing a great job with that in Washington. We have, then on October 5th, we have the public hearing. Public hearing will be at 7 p.m. We have a lot of work to do before then. The PowerPoint seems to really be working. We downsized it after the first 2 meetings at the Lions Club and at the Senior Center in Washington. We gave less information. Most people, when you talk to them about the bonding and 80% and 20%, they kind of get, cross-eyed. So we've kind of slimmed that down. We have shopping bags, which are really cool, and we have the PowerPoint in there. So I think that's helpful. This week we are sending, we'll be going around and giving shopping bags all over to all the stores with information in it, the libraries, the stores, the farmers markets, in all the towns, so that this way, they're giving it out to people. We are hoping, I know Kim had a meeting tonight with the advisory committee to really get the letters to the editors moving. The PTOs, who I met with last week, they are starting a campaign of letter writing. We've had some different groups to do that. I think it's important that I'm going to write a letter this week to remind everybody to come to the public hearing. To the superintendent, the importance of that. I think, board members, whether you write as a group or whether you write from the town, encouraging people to ask questions, to support this, why it's good for your town. I think that's really important. We are finalizing, hopefully, Anthony, Bob, myself, and Michelle, and Kim, the numbers about the bonding. And I'm hoping to have another meeting next week with the Selectmen and the Board of Finance so that they can have that information. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. We have the signs for the lawn, which can't go out till after October 5th because it says the tentative date of the referendum. We have people already to take those. We have some sandwich boards around which we purchased. The first postcard came home this weekend. Hopefully you all received it.
Fantastic.
The next postcard is going out before the public hearing, so hopefully you'll get it by next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we will work on the big, and that's our meeting tomorrow at 9:30, the mailing of real information about numbers and pictures, etc. And that will go out. Hopefully residents will get it the week of October 19th, and then they'll get one more postcard right before the vote on November 10th. So that's kind of where we are. I'm sure I'm missing things, but that's an overview.
How are we able to send the letter out on the 19th?
We're not advocating, we're just sharing the information. And it's very similar. We're using as a model the model that we use. Matter of fact, I have it here for our meeting tomorrow, so I'm coming straight here. The model we used for the consolidation that was brought up.
The folded.
The folded.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Right.
here it is. For those of you who remember, not to bring up any bad memories, but this had the questions, and then you opened it, and you had some pictures and information, and then you had the thing on the back. So just information. We're allowed to inform, we're not allowed to advocate.
And that's the version that was received a complaint and the complaint
And,
was
and we
dismissed.
won, right. We won with this version, so we will make sure that we're very much,
I think I would very strongly urge, I'm sorry. Would you have anything?
I just had two. Start with the first. So in the advisory committee meeting, they were asking about the possibility of getting a letter from the first three selectmen together, either separately or together. And so I just wanted to ask you to ask them in the next meeting with them. They just felt they're all ready to write letters. Laura Miller, who wrote that great letter, was in the meeting.
she was good.
And
Right.
they felt that that would be very powerful for our town leaders to write a letter and have that in the paper. That was one thing. The other thing I just wanted to, especially since we seem to be on our own tonight, is to tell everyone to try to bring people to the October 5th public hearing, because we want to make sure the papers always come, and we want to make sure that the room is full of people who are in support of the program, because we know the people who are against it will come and ask questions. So we don't want them to be the only people here, the only people speaking. That gets reflected in the paper. So if you're talking to people and they want to know the one info session they should come to, we want to pack the room for the hearing so that people come and speak in favor. They can ask questions, absolutely, but we want the people, this is the time to come out if we support it. So
And
please
if
get
they
that word out.
Nervous, encourage them to just write, like 2 sentences on a little index card, just saying, I'm from the PTO, I support this, it's great for our communities, I encourage people to vote. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a long speech, it just has to be people. Sorry,
I was just going to say, I would strongly urge that whatever you're going to mail, anything you're planning on sending out, mailing, publishing, doing anything after the date we set the referendum, I will make sure that our council is with you.
Absolutely.
Michelle, Ed Wainwright handed out this at the Bridgewater meeting. I would take it and have some answers in case.
That's
I'll
what
give
I
this
was
to you, and I would.
All right, I would love-
some answers for that, just in case it gets asked.
Yeah, can we get a copy of that?
And if you give it to Mrs. Gallo, she can run it off for everybody. She'll be happy to do that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thanks, Doc. Thank you.
I did answer his questions orally, just so you know.
Yeah,
But
in other
it's
words-
good to be prepared, well, and that's where, we keep tweaking the PowerPoint, so the more questions that are answered right up front, the better.
When you ask those questions, you'll be able to have a response.
Yep, thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Thank you for the service.
Can I say one other thing?
Oh, sure.
I also just want to remind everyone that I did send some correspondence, confidential correspondence between the board and our attorney about the vote of whether it needs to be passed in each town or passed by a majority. And we did get a legal advice and opinion that it just has to be passed by the majority in all 3 towns as one vote. We are just voting on the bonding question, which Bob will go into in a minute. And I think we really are very secure in that. We've had information from the State Board of Education's attorney and our attorney. So if you did not receive that, please let me know, but it is confidential information between client. Excuse me?
Not anymore, you just
No,
announced it.
I understand, but I'm just saying the report.
Pat, could I just ask a
Please.
question? I just want to be 100% certain about what you said. What it needs is a majority, not a majority in Bridgewater and in Roxbury and in Washington, but a simple majority across the region
Yes.
is all that's necessary. Just because the way you said it might have left some doubt, and I want to make sure for those watching the videotape.
You are correct.
they understand.
Majority, total majority, one vote of all 3 towns together. So, that's my update.
So, our segues are great, aren't they? Now, we're going right into approving the language for the referendum question. Question, there's only one question, isn't it?
There's only one, it is a typo, so please
Okay.
remove the two
One
S's.
question. If you refer to your, I'm doing it on my phone, and if anybody has hard copies, or if it's sent to us in the drive, it's the language both of the ballot heading, the resolutions, and it's the full resolution, which obviously won't appear on the ballot. Yes, Greg?
Yes, would you like a motion to place it on the floor, which involves reading it? I would be happy to do that.
Oh, please.
Has to be
We
done.
haven't heard your voice enough, so.
You don't have to read it tonight, but.
No, but I can read it fast.
Thank you very much. Here you go. They're front.
All right.
All right.
I move that we approve the proposed draft ballot heading and resolution as follows. That the ballot heading read, shall Regional School District number 12 appropriate $39,491,387 for the cost of design, construction, furnishing, equipping, and financing of a new agri-science STEM academy to be located on the Chippewa Valley campus of the town of Washington, and of a renovated science wing and other facilities improvements at the Chippewa Valley School, and authorize the issue of bonds and temporary notes to finance the portion of the appropriation not defrayed from grants. Estimated net project cost of $11,751,921. That's the question. And then the resolution would be as follows. Resolution approving $39,491,387 for costs of design, construction, furnishing, equipping, and financing of a new agri-science STEM academy to be located on the Chippewa Valley campus in the town of Washington, and of a renovated science wing and other facilities improvements at the Chippewa Valley School, and authorizing the issue of bonds and temporary notes to finance the portion of the appropriation not defrayed from grants. Estimated net project cost of $11,751,921. Resolved that Regional School District number 12 of the state of Connecticut appropriate $39,491,387 for costs related to A, Agri-Science STEM Academy, design, construction, furnishing, equipping, and financing of Agri-Science STEM Academy facilities to be located on the Chippewa Valley campus at 159 South Street, the town of Washington, contemplated to include but not limited to construction of 4 buildings, a classrooms and administrative offices building approximately 26,000 square feet, an equine facility approximately 20,000 square feet, a large and small animal facility approximately 10,100 square feet, and an equipment garage approximately 4,900 square feet, renovation of existing shop space at Chippewa Valley School to accommodate the program approximately 9,500 square feet, renovation of chemistry laboratories, CLABS, in the existing science wing at the Chippewa Valley School, site work and improvements approximately 34 acres, and other related work and improvements estimated cost of $37,998,367, and B, Chippewa Valley School science wing renovations, design, construction, furnishing, equipment, and financing of renovations to the existing science wing of the Chippewa Valley School located on the Chippewa Valley campus at 159 South Street in the town of Washington, approximately 10,170 square feet, contemplated to provide but not limited to chemistry laboratories, 1 teacher's preparation area, workroom, and a chemical storage area, various items to meet safety code requirements, new equipment including lab equipment, sinks, hoods, lab stations, and ADA compliant lab workstations, technology updates, new flooring, windows, doors, lighting, and HVAC equipment to comply with ventilation standards, and other related work and improvements, and to the extent of available funds, such other improvements to the existing Chippewa Valley school facilities as are determined by the Board of Education or any building committee delegated such responsibility by the Board of Education. Estimated cost of $1,493,020. The appropriation may be spent for design and construction costs. Survey, testing, and permitting costs, furnishing fixtures, equipment, materials, technology, infrastructure, and equipment, site improvements, architect's fees, engineering fees, construction management costs and fees, consultant fees, legal fees, net interest on borrowing, other financing costs, and other expenses related to the projects and their financing. The Board of Education or any building committee or committee delegated all or any portion of such responsibility by the Board of Education is authorized to determine the scope and particulars of each project and may reduce or modify the scope of each project as desirable, and the entire appropriation may be spent on the projects as so reduced or modified. The district anticipates receiving grants from the State Department of Education for estimated approximately 70.2% of the aggregate cost of the projects, for a resulting estimated aggregate net cost of the projects to the district of $11,751,921. That the district issue its bonds and temporary notes in an amount not to exceed $39,491,387 to finance the appropriation for the projects. The amount of the bonds or notes authorized shall be reduced by the amount of grants received by the district for the projects and not separately appropriated to pay project costs. The bonds and temporary notes shall be issued pursuant to Section 1056 of the General Statutes of Connecticut, revision of 1958 as amended, and any other enabling acts. The bonds and notes shall be general obligations of the district and its member towns, secured by the irrevocable pledge of the full faith and credit of the district and its member towns. The law firm of Dave Pitney, LLP, is designated as bond counsel to approve the legality of the bonds and notes. The chairman and the treasurer or such other officer or body to whom the Board of Education delegates the authority to make such determinations are authorized to determine the amounts, dates, interest rates, maturities, redemption provisions, form, and other details of the bonds and notes, to designate one or more banks or trust companies to be certifying bank, registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent for the bonds or notes, to provide for keeping a record of the bonds or notes, to designate a financial advisor to the district in connection with the sale of the bonds or notes, to sell the bonds or notes at public or private sale, to deliver the bonds or notes, and to perform all other acts which are necessary or appropriate to issue the bonds or notes. 3, that the district hereby declare its official intent under federal income tax regulation section 1.150-2 that project costs may be paid from temporary advances of available funds that, except to the extent reimbursed from grant monies, the district reasonably expects to reimburse any such advances from the proceeds of borrowings in an aggregate principal amount not in excess of the amount of borrowing authorized above for the projects. The chairman and the treasurer or such other body to whom the Board of Education delegates such authority are authorized to amend such declaration of official intent as they deem necessary or advisable, and to bind the district pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the bonds or notes authorized by this resolution if issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of interest earnings to the United States in future years. That the chairman and treasurer or such other body to whom the board delegates such authority are authorized to make representations and enter into written agreements for the benefit of the holders of the bonds or notes to provide secondary market disclosure information, which agreements may include such terms as they deem advisable or appropriate in order to comply with applicable laws or rules pertaining to the sale or purchase of such bonds or notes. 5, that the Board of Education is authorized to approve the entering into of contracts for each project, and the Board of Education or such officer or body to whom the board delegates such authority is authorized to approve the expenditure of said appropriation and such other matters as it deems desirable or necessary to complete the project. 6, that the appropriation and authorization of bonds and temporary notes shall be subject to approval by a referendum vote to be held in the towns of Bridgewater, Roxbury, and Washington, being all of the towns comprising said district.
One more time.
Really? So this is the full resolution. And first of all, does anybody have any comments? But second of all, with that in mind, what we really are concerned with is the first paragraph, which is our referendum question.
Do we need a second?
Oh, yes, we do.
I'll second.
And Rebecca seconds. Thank you. I forgot that was that
It got
tone.
lost.
That tone was emotion back then. Before daylight savings ended. So let's focus first on the ballot heading question. That really is the most public part of this. My only question is the way we have phrased the estimated net project cost. Is that, are we all feel that's clear?
Is it legal?
Well, this is legal, obviously. It came to us from Bond Council.
That's fine.
Well, I think it's pretty clear, Alan, because it's, the first time I read it through, I said, wait a minute, what is that? Is that the way we want to say it? But then I thought it says, and it's authorizing issuance of bonds and temporary notes to finance the portion of the appropriation not defrayed from grants.
Right.
And then, I mean, it would have been perfect to say, which leaves leaves an estimated, which we expect to leave an estimated negative. By the time you play with language, it just gets wordier and wordier.
Right.
And then that obscures meaning. So I think it's pretty clear that what we're asking for, we legally have to ask for 39.491 million, but we're really asking
Well,
for
you have to
11
know that
million.
the cost is going to be free. Is everybody comfortable with that? I just had, as George mentioned, I just had a little bump where I was expecting maybe a full sentence or a little more clarification, but knowing that this is a truncated, abbreviated phrase in there in the parentheses, is it clear to everybody looking at this that as a voter, you'd be going in, you'd see what you are asking for, you'd see that there are there's a portion not defrayed from grants, and that portion is the 11.7. Is that clear? Everyone's happy with that? Michelle?
No, I don't love it, actually, but I know our hands are tied. And I'm just wondering if the order has to be, if it has to be said in this order. There's no way we can get that.
The 11.
Yeah.
No.
Well, actually, it's,
No, because in reality, you have to authorize the amount of money to complete the project. That's the whole key.
yeah, because they want us to appropriate $39 million,
have to
which
do
the
that.
state's providing 27.
Right, but yeah, right. I know. I get it. But you know, the voter who walks in and has seen all the flyers that say 11.7 has to read to the bottom to see that. We can't bold that.
No, unfortunately, we can't do any of that. But
Not
I'm just
allowed to
wondering
bold it?
if the sentence could be, and it has to be one sentence too, because it's a question,
Right.
which is
So
why
really
that's shoved
long.
in there, yeah.
Well, and I was wondering, you know, we appropriate 39. I mean, there's no way we can authorize it. Oh, I mean, I guess the thing is, maybe it is better to have it at the end, so that bottom, that number is the absolute last, and it's not buried in the middle somewhere.
Right,
So,
I think we just need to have, I'm not sure what we can do as far as, you know, we're always allowed to have explanatory text. The easiest explanatory text for this is like a big equation of 39
Minus 27.
equals equals 39 equals appropriation, 20 whatever equals state reimbursement, your cost, that, and make that explanatory text for this, and that should be.
And the other thing we have to do is we've got to advertise the heck out of that equation so that people understand.
That's on the next
it's on the
postcard.
postcard.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case. Could I ask a question, Helen? Bob, this language that you've gotten here, was this either drafted by, vetted, approved by Dave Pitney?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the largest law firm in the state, which is
Yes.
our bond counsel, has vetted and approved this language.
We worked on this since July. We had a draft way back in, actually, we did it in June, worked on it some more in July. I think we shared that with everybody way back in July as a true draft. As we got closer to the specifics of the project, so we can narrow the scope of it, this is what the end result was, and everything is incorporated in.
They're very good lawyers.
That's good.
Okay. Anything further?
No.
Anthony?
So we can put that text, we can add that to the bond question? No, not the question itself, but below the question.
Below, I forget.
I don't think it'd be on the
Is it
ballot.
handed out separately?
I think it can be on the
Oh, on the
wall,
ballot.
Right.
where you post the ballot question.
Could be in the
I
ballot
think-
box, or you.
No.
I think you can hand it out with,
If I
you
recall,
know.
yeah, it's a separate
I
piece of
think
paper.
we've done it before, a
Hand it
stack
out.
on the table,
Right.
you pick
Right.
up,
Yeah.
as you,
Yeah.
you give your name and your
And
address,
they give you that.
and they give it to you.
Can we get that confirmed, because it's pretty critical.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always.
Oh, we've done it before,
We
we know we
have
can.
done it. We
When
did
the
last
government has, ballot measures that are voted on, you often get booklets that are handed out. And I think that's something that the secretary has to, it's a Rebecca thing. Secretary has to
Yeah, there's some.
sign off in that language to the SEC or something like that.
Right, it has to go to attorneys.
And it must go to an attorney. Do
Yeah.
not allow it not to.
So we'll get to
That's
work
why
on that.
simple is
Right.
better, because, I mean, yeah, clearly no advocating,
Because-
but like, it just,
Al-
it
Alan's
can't be allowed.
explanation, I would second that, is because it's clear,
the secretary so that it can be part of the ballot.
Okay. Not part of the ballot.
I'm sorry, part of the,
Materials.
part of the,
Do it.
it's part of the referendum experience. Yeah.
Yeah, the referendum experience.
Anything else?
I'd like further.
Experience. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? I believe we are once again unanimous. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Without seeing any further business, may I hear a motion for adjournment, please?
Second.
Somebody has to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And second from Emily. We are hereby adjourned. Wow, look at that, 8:06, 1 hour.
Well done, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. We're out. Over now.
Yeah.
So,
I knew there was a reason we voted for Mr. Vice Chair.
yeah, but I want to get a date with Bob. Are you in tomorrow afternoon?
Yep.
What time? Well, on at Rotary.
It's probably gonna be after one,
Two.
I should be back by 12.